Okay, Jim, thanks so much for being with us. I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell me what you do.
Sure thing. My name is Jim Jarab, and I'm a Laramie artist. That's part of my doings. I also am employed part-time by the Brinton Museum up in Bighorn, and I do their show prep and also their paper conservation.
Well, and you went to school for this here. Is that right?
For the printmaking, my art part, yes. And when I was going to graduate school, I worked for the art museum, the University of Wyoming Art Museum, and that's where I learned a lot of my archival and conservation skills.
I see. And so you have a space here at the Civic Center.
That's
Can
right.
you describe where it is? And
Oh, it's marvelous. We're essentially on the first floor west side of the building. You have to go through the red doors to get to us. And it's just a marvelous studio space. I share it with three other artists, and we essentially use it to do just that. We do our artwork there. And we do participate with some of the reception and other events that happen in the Civic Center, but as of yet, we're kind of just a loose association. We're not really a group, even though we're friends. We don't have like a group name or something.
so what kind of work are you doing in there?
Myself, printmaking. Woo, printmaking. Printmaking's the best. Traditional printmaking. Some people would call it old school, even though it still involves some amount of computer technology and photo technology. But primarily etchings, lithographs, have a large letterpress component, sort of welcome to the 19th century type of work.
And you have it all down there. What kind of equipment do you have down in there?
4 different kinds of presses, plus the options for bookmaking and paper making as well.
So when you're purchasing these things, you're purchasing already existing older things, or somebody is making these things currently?
The printmaking materials?
Sure.
Yeah, it's all old stuff. Hasn't been made for at least 70 years, if not more.
So why do you do it?
I love it. Why do you love homemade bread? It's just some things you just love. I'm a process oriented. I have really good hand skills. I love to do things, in my mind and make them happen with my hands. And for me, that vehicle is printmaking, art making in general, but printmaking specifically.
And you, again, like I said, you did go to school here, but you've done, what kinds of things have you done in terms of, have you taught?
Yes, I taught at the University of Wyoming for 5 years in their printmaking department. Then they did what's called a house cleaning, and it was bye-bye Jim. And so for the next 25 years, I was the head of the printmaking department at Truman State University at Kirksville, Missouri. And I'll be quick about this. The reason I'm not there anymore is that the Brinton Museum was developing a new education center, and they convinced me to leave that job. And when I got up there, the money fell through, and there's no more education center.
Oh, no.
So there's still a great museum up there. Check out their website.
Okay.
Really good.
But so, this is sort of driven you to just do this on your own, basically, right? And you do it, you have exhibits and things like that?
Yes. Yes, local, national, regional, international. I'm in a couple of shows in Japan right now.
Wow.
Not solo shows, but part of, invitational shows and group shows. We have a show downtown at Sweet Melissa, the nice vegetarian restaurant. They allow us to hang works. Some works down in Colorado right now. So yeah, I like to do the work. I like to show the work.
Wow. That's great. I noticed a lot of them are sort of untitled. There's one called Connor and the Goose. I wonder if there's a story behind that. But, how do you come up with the titles or the themes?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, in some cases, like this one, the answer is sort of literal. That was done when I was in Missouri, and I was looking out the window, and a student walked in front of the window and made a silhouette. And at the same time, it was fall, and the geese were migrating, and so I could hear geese going by, and so I just made up the picture of the goose and just used his silhouette. And the title, again, sometimes I'm a bit literal in how I interpret my things, so it's just Connor and the Goose. Thanks for noticing that word, though. I hadn't thought about that one for a while.
And you, it's talking kind of like the themes or how would you describe your style? Let's put it that way.
A little, like some artworks, a little enigmatic, based mostly on direct observation of actual scenes, people. A lot of times I'm interested in how people react to each other. So less important who they are. It's more important what they are, you know, individuals in a societal construct and how they work with each other. And that's usually where my work stems from. So a lot of times if I'm out and about, I'll have my sketchbook on hand or my eyes are moving, just noticing things.
This is from your childhood? I mean, when did you just come to you? Or?
Yeah, the current strain of work that I'm doing, which has a lot of figure in it, usually figure and silhouette in some kind of a closed environment, like inside a bar or something, that didn't come up until about maybe 15 years ago. I mean, as a child, I ran around and played, but I did draw. You know, I was not really encouraged by my parents, but I was certainly not discouraged either. And so I was able to, you know, draw pictures of birds or draw pictures of buildings, and that just kind of hung with me. And been at it ever since.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Civic Center. How long have you actually been in that space or in the Civic Center if you've moved around?
I was having to run those numbers through my head. We first had a space in the late 1990s, which is now currently occupied by the Laramie Arts Project. But when we had it, it was essentially everybody's dumping ground and nobody really knew what to do with it, but nobody would really let us do anything with it in terms of cleanup. But they let us rent the space for dirt cheap. I mean, it was kind of literal dirt cheap, but it was a space. You know, we had been in a really nice upscale studio in downtown Laramie, part of the Midwest block. But people that wanted to open a computer store had a lot more money than we did, and so there was a whole bunch of artists up there, and they're all, actually most of them are in the Civic Center now, which is wonderful that we were able to get a space. So yeah, late 1990s, we were in this kind of dark dungeon of a hole, and then the space that we're in currently opened up. The people that had rented that space moved out of town, and so we heard about it, and we were really fortunate to get it because it's like a dream come true. I mean, it's marvelous. And that was about 2006 is when we moved into the current space.
So, I mean, have you seen a revitalization of the Civic Center? I mean, I know a lot is going on now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the name of Melissa's predecessor, but it doesn't matter because Melissa is like the tops. She's done so much. I mean, and not just for us as artists to have a space. She's done stuff for this whole building and thus the whole community. I mean, I can't say enough good things about what she's been doing and continues to do. Like the room that we're sitting in right now. This is marvelous. You know, it's just wonderful to see what's going on. Yeah, and then she's real supportive of the arts and artists in general. And so, because there's not only our space, there's several art studios on the second floor. And that's where most of my other friends that were downtown ended up. They have nice studio spaces where they do their work now.
Well, that leads you to my next question is, you know, the Civic Center, there's a lot, there's music, there's theater, right. There's all kinds of things. I mean, how is that informed sort of the space for you?
Oh, it's just exciting to see, you know, arts in general going on. You know, even if I'm not part of it, to know that there's a place where, like you were saying, theater and music, all these venues that may not happen. And it's just artists. Not all artists live in a closet and are trying to avoid people. Most artists like to see activity, even if they're not part of it, just to feel that positive energy. And that's the big thing that Melissa's brought in, you know, just cultural aspects and positive energy. And you can't beat that. You can't buy that either. And she's generated that out of a lot of hard work. So it's cool.
That's great to hear. So the last question I'm going to ask you is, how do people look at your stuff, and how do they get to your website and things like that?
Oh, again, we've been doing art shows around Laramie for quite a few years, and so there's things that people can just see without having to say make an effort. But generally, people either get a hold of me through my website, which is jimjarab.com. Not very original, I have to admit, but it works. And it shows a listing of my works and gives contact information. And also, if I'm out of town somehow and people need to get a hold of me, the Brinton Museum, which has a really cool website too, they're also, you know, if people contact up there, they find me down, and we call it the dungeon because it's where all of the locked security area is.
Oh.
And, yeah. But those are the two main places for getting a hold of me. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jim, for doing this for us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.